I'm making the community post right now, guys. Hold on. Run the intro back. All right. Take 2. What's going on, y'all? It's another day on the Day One podcast. I'm your co-host, Anthony. Name in the bubble. I can't even figure out my directions. Co-host Kyle, currently at work right now. Why don't we give him a little text, tell him to come hop in. We are live, brother. Come hang if you got a free sec. Shout out to my boy. We kind of been lacking, I ain't gonna lie, on the pod stuff, but I've been really getting on them, man. If you guys haven't seen our shorts, go check out the shorts. We kind of clipped a couple funny things from the pod, or like some stuff from the podcast. I've also been like making Eagle shorts. I made one today about, we'll get into it, but QB1 back at practice. But we'll get into that. We got a jam-packed pod. We're gonna go over this past week's slate of NFL games, the Christmas week. A lot of crazy stuff, a lot of movement in the NFL with coaches and players, and just a lot of stuff going on that we got to touch on. It's getting to be that time where it's playoff time. Teams can clinch playoff berths, divisional crowns, seeds. We're going to get into all that as well. We're going to break down the Christmas Eve game, the one that was probably the most watched, the Eagles and Cowboys. We'll talk about that, and we'll also touch on some other things. Yeah, man, I really miss my co-host today, man. It sucks. It's not the same without him. He brings the cool energy. I'm kind of the boring one, so you're gonna have to listen to me for the day. I hope your Christmas was well. Mine was pretty good. Got to spend time with the family. I got to spend time with the girlfriend. Shout out. And I even hopped on Philly Mike's live call-in show to talk about the L. Shout out to Philly Mike. He plugged the channel. We got a couple more subscribers, but we're doing the numbers. It's all right. We're gonna grind. We're gonna do our thing. I appreciate Philly Mike for really tapping in and putting us out there like that. Means a lot. We're trying to grow this platform. We're trying to get the baddie killer Jordan Poole to be on this program. So we got to get this thing as big as possible so we can do a Jordan Poole pod. A pool pod, bro. Come on. It doesn't get better than a pool pod in a pool. Change my mind. That would be a fantastic idea. Pool pod in a pool with Jordan Poole. Fantastic. But yeah, I'm not gonna really. We're gonna breeze through this. We got a lot to talk about, so we'll be here for a minute. Firstly, we'll talk about soccer legend Pele passed away. We're gonna touch on this very, very briefly. I'm not really into soccer, football. I like the throw in the hand football, not the kick in your feet football. But Pele, soccer legend. I mean, he is instrumental in the 70s, 80s, in growing soccer and like world soccer. Absolute legend. Probably one of the first people you think of when you think of like soccer and the World Cup is Pele. I played a little bit of FIFA. He's one of the highest overall rated FIFA players on the Adidas team. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, it's something to touch on because it's huge. I mean, he's a big figure in the soccer world. To lose a great like that absolutely sucks. So rip in peace, Pele. Thoughts are with the family and all in the world of soccer. Um, yeah, I don't really have much to say. I don't really watch soccer. I'm not really tapped. I'm asleep. I'm like in a coma sleep when it comes to soccer. Um, but yeah, man, it sucks when you lose a legend in a sport. Um, really does. It really does suck. All right. I know that was really short on that topic, but I don't have much to talk about other than just how that's a big thing. Well, why don't we get into some football? This is really what we're going to be talking about today. Um, let's get into this Week 16 recap. A lot of stuff happened. We'll just talk about the games and talk about the news and storylines and stuff as we talk about these games. Um, I mean, it's just insane how it's getting to be that time of the year where playoff time is right around the corner, and you got uh a lot of shuffling going on here. Um, so we'll break down these games. Break down the Eagles game in depth. Obviously, I have some insight on that because I watched the entire game, and I'm a Birds fan. We all know that. If you've been living under a rock. But let's start with this first game here. Jacksonville Jaguars go into East Rutherford on Thursday night, a week ago today, to take on the Jets. They took care of business 19-3. This game hurt to watch. It really did. Um, Especially for Jets fans, considering our co-host Kyle is not here. Obviously, that might have to do something with that. Um, I mean, they were without Mike White, who is back at practice today. He will probably play this week. Jets are still in it, though. We'll get into that a little later, but they're still in it. Not eliminated yet, still mathematically in with Miami L. We'll talk about that later. Um, yes, Zach Wilson started this game. He did not finish this game. He got benched for Chris Strevler. Um, we don't know who that is except for Kyle. He's the Jets fan. He was running like a freaking man child on the first couple drives. He had a little bit of juice, man. He had a little bit of juice. I ain't gonna lie. It was fun to watch Strevler, but I mean the story of this game really was Doug Peterson's play calling and Trevor Lawrence carving up the New York defense. Um, Travis Etienne, um, Evan Ingram. I mean, they absolutely had their way with the Jets defense. This is a very underrated Jags team. Their offense is very underrated and their defense is underrated as well. Um, Although, I mean, the Jets defense was hanging in there for, better part of over a half of football. Their offense just couldn't get it going. Zach Wilson absolutely dog water, 66 total passing yards. Um, Anybody who took the over on Zach Wilson passing yards, F in the chat. I was one of them. Um, yeah, it was an awful game. He looked terrible. He didn't look like an NFL quarterback. I'm gonna be honest. And they just couldn't get anything going. Um, and it's just tough. I mean that's a game you got to win. Obviously, as the Jets are in the playoff hunt, you got to get as many of these games late down in the stretch as you can because you might have somebody slip up and you can capitalize. In the Jags case, they were able to capitalize. I mean, the Titans have been, well, we'll talk about it, but they've been on a skid here for a while. And now when you look at it, the Jags are leading the AFC South. Who would have thought? I mean, in Doug Peterson's first year, he takes a 3-win team, and they're on the brink of winning their division and hosting a home playoff game. That is just insane. Props to Doug, though. I mean, us Philly fans, we know what Doug can do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these play out. We'll break down the playoff scenarios a little bit here. Next game, the Baltimore Ravens taking care of business at home against the Atlanta Falcons, 17-9. Got to be honest, I really didn't watch this game. Tyler Huntley, the quarterback, still without Lamar Jackson, but Baltimore finding a way to win. I mean, like Kyle has said with the Falcons, I mean, they're a team that like they don't know that they're not a good team. And being in the hunt for the playoffs up until this week, you kind of get a sense of that. They're officially eliminated, by the way. So Atlanta's playoff chances out the window. Yeah, so that's one out of the worst NFC division sweepstakes. And the Ravens still staying afloat in the ever so tight AFC playoff race. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if at some point Lamar Jackson comes back. Because I mean, there's a lot of teams that can make the playoffs here. So good win for the Ravens to kind of stay afloat. We'll see about Lamar Jackson soon. Next game here, Carolina taking care of business against the Lions, 37-23. These are two teams that are vying for a playoff spot. The Lions somehow in it, and the Panthers as well. After the dumpster fire selling their franchise to PJ Walker. Yeah, man, the Panthers they got a shot. All of these the NFC South teams except for the Falcons have a shot. They've been the Panthers have been they found a niche in the run game. Forget their running back's name. This is the Detroit one. My bad, guys. I'm so sorry. Deontay Foreman. That's right. I mean, look at this stat line: 21 for 165, an average of 8 yards a carry. What a beast! And then Chuba Hubbard, Hubba, 12 for 125, 10 yards, 10 and a half yards average per carry. What, like, obviously, and even Sam Darnold put up 15 for 22, 250. Like, not a bad game. I know that the Panthers' identity down the stretch here has been the running game with Deontay Foreman. He's been holding it down. He's been doing a fantastic job after they traded away Christian McCaffrey. And the Lions have also been doing a great job. They've been white hot. Two teams. Hey, you gotta get them where you can get them. Again, we'll get into these scenarios. It'll be interesting to see. And we'll also talk about this week the clinching scenarios. So we'll get into that. Next game, the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Seattle Seahawks, taking care of business in Arrowhead, 24-10. This is really another Patrick Mahomes game. 16 for 28, 224, 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. And not career day for Travis Kelce, but pretty darn good. 6 for 113. Turnovers. That's the name of the game. Geno Smith, good quarterback. Better defense that the Kansas City D played. Yeah. You want to know what's crazy, though? It is crazy to me. Before we move on, think about this, bro. Think about this. And shout out to Kyle, because he's a depressed Jets fan. Anytime a Jets player doesn't work out and they have success, he's tight. He's sick. Geno Smith is a Pro Bowl quarterback. And listen, if the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, he's going to be the starter. He's going to be starting in the Pro Bowl. And a year ago, we were like, where's Geno Smith? Like, it was funny. And now he's starting in the Pro Bowl, potentially. Like, that is just insane to me. And it's just funny every time I bring that up to Kyle and he gets tight. Yeah, bro, listen. Geno Smith is a Pro Bowl quarterback. Bro, I've been saying it all year. And look, He's in the Pro Bowl. So it's a shame that it's not what it used to be, the Pro Bowl, but still. All right. And, again, Kansas City fighting for that 1 seed with Buffalo and Seattle fighting for a playoff spot, period. Untimely loss for Seattle. They really need to stack wins together. So they're in a hole. They're in a hole. They're going to need some help if they want to make the playoffs. Next game here, New Orleans Saints taking on the Cleveland Browns. They taking care of business on the road, 17-10. Low scoring. I figured that when Deshaun Watson came back, it was going to be a struggle. 15 for 31, 135, and 1 interception. You figured there was going to be a rust factor. I mean, the passing yards in this game were hard to come by as it was, but it was the Alvin Kamara show in this one for New Orleans, who are also in the race for that NFC South. Not what I want to see personally as an Eagles fan. I want them to suck. I want them to have the worst record in the league so we can have the number 1 overall pick, because their success determines our draft position. So, yeah. But they've been coming on recently. And we'll get into I'll break down a little bit of this Eagles Saints matchup. I mean, they're playing the Eagles this week. They're vying for playoff spot. We're vying for the number 1 seed in the division. So it's a big game. It's really a big game. I think this will determine whether they make the playoffs or not. Obviously, the mathematical scenario we'll never know until it actually happens. But yeah, I mean, they're turning it up as of late. They're peaking at the right time. And as far as Cleveland, I mean, I don't know. Deshaun Watson, I had a sneaky suspicion when he came back, he was not going to be lighting it up. I mean, we'd like to think, because of the Deshaun Watson we saw before the suspension, he was balling, putting up all pro numbers, even though the Texans only won 4 games. But still, he was carrying the load down there in Houston. But you had to take consideration of he's coming back late in the year. You usually need to get like a couple weeks to ramp up and get used to getting the swing of things. But it just hasn't formulated. And a lot of people were saying like, hey, Jacoby Brissett is going to hold it down until Deshaun Watson comes back, and then the Browns are going to make a run. That really hasn't happened. Deshaun Watson has struggled. And to me, it hasn't really been a surprise. So that's really all I have to say about that game. Next game here, the Cincinnati Bengals taking care of business on the road narrowly against the Patriots, 22-18. They almost squandered it. The Patriots did make a valiant comeback effort, but it was all too short. I believe it was off of a missed extra point, or 2-point conversion, I want to say. Joe Burrow had a freaking day, 40 for 52, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. The throwing for 52 times in a game is crazy to me. T. Higgins had a day, 8 for 128. Jamar Chase, 8 for 79. He got his guys involved. Yeah, there's nothing really else to say. Joe Mixon had a solid day, 16 for 65. The New Orleans side, Mac Jones, not bad, 240, 2 tuds, 21 for 33. Kendrick Bourne had 100 yards on the day. Jacoby Myers had a good day. Yeah, again, the Patriots are one of those teams vying for a playoff spot, and the Bengals are, in a division hunt. It's one of those things. The better team won. They almost didn't, but they came out with it. And the Bengals have been one of those teams that they've peaked at the right time here, and it's been like, they could go to the Super Bowl. So I mean, to get another win, stack another one on the chart. It's good. I mean, it's good. You know, it helps them for playoff seeding. They're probably not going to get the 1 seed, so to get a home playoff game, that'll be critical. But yeah, moving forward, we got the Minnesota Vikings taking care of business at home against the New York Giants, 27-24. Now, this game was insane in the sense that Minnesota was, they were doing their thing against the Giants, and again, Giants came back. They made it interesting. They tied it up, tie game, and it all came down to a 61-yard field goal that the Giants know all too well. Taking an L on a 61-yard game-winning field goal, it's definitely demoralizing. They had one of the best NFC teams on the ropes at home, but like Minnesota was at home and they were on the ropes. And they found a way to win, stack another win, and put more pressure on the Eagles to make sure that they lock up the 1 seed. There's still mathematical chance that the Vikings could sneak in and get it. It'd be huge. It'd be huge. In Minnesota's case, to win one more game and the Eagles just lose out for some reason, it'd be huge. But we'll see. We'll see what that happens. I'm gonna bet on no, that's not gonna happen. So that's just me. Next game here, the Buffalo Bills taking care of business in Chicago against the Bears, 35-13. I mean, not really much to say about this. Josh Allen put his dong on the Chicago defense. He did his thing. Justin Fields had a couple highlight plays, but it's just the same old adage that the Bears just don't have enough. They got to build around Justin Fields, and they got to build that defense up. I mean, they play hard. They've been in very close games this year, just on the wrong side of them for the majority. Yeah, this is a team. The Chicago Bears, they're a team, like, if they get a couple playmakers on offense and they start building that defense back up, with some young guys on some cheap contracts, they could be a threat for the NFC North and possibly in the conference. If Justin Fields progresses and, as a passer, makes the not saying a Jalen Hurts-esque leap like in a year, but if it's like, let's say like 2 to 3 years, he develops into a pretty good passer, and we know he's one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. You have a recipe to be like Jalen Hurts in a sense. It's all going to matter about them putting the right guys around them and Justin Fields developing. That's really it. But in this case here, Buffalo Bills taking care of business like usual. Next game here, Houston Texans upsetting the Titans on the road, 19-14. This game got it got postponed for like an hour because there was cold and there was power outages. But I mean, I honestly haven't really I didn't watch this game, so I mean, it really to me, it'd be a sense of Malik Willis with 2 turnovers, and just like Derrick Henry letting him do his thing and just beating everybody else. Really it in that sense. Again, Houston won the turnover battle. That was the difference. Close game. Whoa, I did not want to do that. I apologize, guys. Close game. Won the turnover battle. That's the difference. That's usually the difference. Whoever wins the turnover battle, whoever wins time of possession, they'll more than likely win the game. So that was the case here. Tennessee Titans having and honestly, nobody talks about this enough. They've had a huge skid over the last few weeks. The Titans, like, they were like, I want to say 2 or 3 games ahead in the AFC South, and woof, vanished. Jacksonville's leading the division now. It's been a collapse of monumental proportions. honestly, I mean, they started the year off slow, then they got they caught some steam, put themselves in a good position to win the division, and just it's all falling apart with the Ryan Tannehill injury. He's on IR. He's done for the year. Um, yeah, I mean, and Derrick Henry's inactive tonight against the Cowboys, which that game is just about to start. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's looking bleak for the Titans. Um, we'll get into those scenarios. Next game here, the 49ers taking care of business at home against the Washington Commanders, 37-20. Now, this one was close in like the first half. And in the second half, 49ers, they pulled the Golden State Warriors and just poured it on. Brock Purdy again did his thing. 15 for 22, 234, two tuds. Ray McLeod had that like reverse that went to the house. Christian McCaffrey did his thing, although 3.1 yards per carry, not that's pretty good for the Washington defense. They did a good job containing him, but it was everybody else. George Kittle 6 for 120, Brandon Ayuk 5 for 81. And then Taylor Heineke came out, Carson Wentz back in at quarterback, looked pretty good. And he's starting this week. As Washington's vying for a playoff berth in the NFC East, or in the NFC, excuse me. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Carson Wentz can lead the Commanders into the playoffs. We don't have to see him, at least yet. It'd be funny to see them in the divisional round if we lock up the 1 seed and they somehow get in and pass the first round. I'm gonna have to get tickets to that game. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And the 49ers, again, they're just patting it on with the NFC West and kind of sneaking into that number 1 seed conversation. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Moving on here, we got the Eagles taking on the Cowboys in Dallas, losing 40-34. Now we'll break this game down a little bit. I have my thoughts on the game and whether I'm gonna like panic or not. Honestly, I saw this game really going either way. It was a fun game to watch. It was a good game. It was probably the best game on Christmas Eve. Just because of like, the offensive firepower and just the points put up and the plays, big plays, all from both sides of the ball, both teams. Yeah. Dallas, they played their best game. I want to say this is probably their best game this season. Dak Prescott threw it all over the yard. I want to say he had 78% completion percentage. He was just about 100% against zone. Yeah, he was on one. He was on one after the early pick six to Josh Sweat, which I didn't have that. Listen, I have my 2022 Eagles bingo card, right? Josh Sweat getting a pick six is not what I had on my 2022 Eagles bingo card. That's one that I didn't have on there that I was like, wow. If you would have told me Josh Sweat would have had a pick six at the beginning of the year or in like training camp in the off season, I would have been like, I would have laughed and be like, that's cool. Anyway, but no, it was cool to see. It was a good play. He read it, quick hands, and then the stiff arm, and he turned on the Jets. I mean, he was booking it. If you look, at him running down the sideline, it was a cool moment. But all for none, really. As far as Gardner Minshew, he didn't look terrible. He played a good game. He really did. We'll look at the stats here. I mean, 24 for 40, 355, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not bad. I mean, he didn't play a terrible game. But I will say this. The offense looked completely different without Jalen Hurts. Completely different. I mean, the run game wasn't as effective, and that was to be obvious. I mean, Miles Sanders had 21 carries, 65 yards on 3.1 average. Um, if Jalen Hurts is playing and Miles Sanders has over 20 carries, he should have at least 115 yards on the ground. Um, at least. I mean, Jalen Hurts opens up so much for this offense just because of his dual threat ability. He can throw the ball, he can make all the throws, very accurate, and he can also run. He's a huge running threat. And it opens up the game for Miles Sanders. I mean, they had a really good game plan to stop the run. I figured they would, just because like when you're in the RPO set, you're really gonna make Gardner Minshew um, fake the RPO. You think Gardner Minshew's gonna go on a QB keeper on the RPO? Like that's not happening. So Dallas they stayed home. They did a good job containing Miles Sanders for the most part. In the passing game, I don't understand why we didn't go to the double moves more often. Um, I mean I understand just because Gardner Minshew doesn't have the arm. Um, but I mean AJ, you saw like one of the first plays of the game. AJ Brown absolutely sunned Trayvon Diggs. They had the play before he had the slant, the crosser, and that was a first down. And then next play, um, he gives inside, or I want to say um Diggs gave him outside leverage. Um, I don't remember. Um, yeah, no, it was inside leverage, I want to say. But AJ Brown went to cross in, hit him with the double move. Diggs bit on the slant, and it was a huge play down the field. Ultimately kicked three. That was the other thing too. We'll get it. Well, I mean, I got a lot to talk about with this game, but the red zone, we were not effective in finishing drives at all. A lot of those drives you see when we get down to the red zone, like we're putting up six almost every time. We are not kicking field goals like ever. And first drive of the game, huge play. We get down there, stalls out, three. Couple other drives, I can't really think of them off the top of my head. Had chances to put up six, took three. Um, I mean, Gardner Minshew, he did good. He missed some throws, and he was very erratic at times, especially in pressure and pressure situations. Um, the one I could think of, um, even the touchdown of Devontae Smith, he was backpedaling, and you could see he was playing like almost not scared, but like scared. Um, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. Um, the interceptions were terrible. Um, the one, I mean, probably should have been pass interference with the Dallas defender just jumping right over Quez Watkins and just like jumping over him. The second one just got ripped out of Quez Watkins' hands. Um, Terrible ball placement. He also telegraphed the throw. He stared him down the entire time. Um, that like that's the thing. Like people say like Jalen Hurts, like it's the system or Jalen Hurts, and they're like, oh well, it's the system, it's the team. Obviously not. I mean, Jalen Hurts is not telegraphing throws and making really bad decisions like that. Minshew threw a lot of 50-50 balls. Um, and some came down, some didn't. I don't think Jalen Hurts is making those like risky 50-50 balls. Like the one that Dallas Goddard you saw, like him and the defender had it in their hands and he had to wrestle it out of his hands. It was one of those like holy shit, what is going on kind of plays. Um and it's like, oh thank God he caught that, wrestled it out of him. Um It's not the same team with Gardner Minshew. It's really not. I would, I would say that the Eagles they're a fringe playoff team at best with Gardner Minshew in at quarterback. Because I mean, you think about like last year against the Jets, probably one of the worst teams in football last year. Took care of business, was to be expected. Um, this go around, he's got it. He's got the team around him, with the same team that Jalen Hurts has around him, going up against one of the top dogs in the NFC and the Dallas Cowboys. Um, there to the very end, just couldn't make it happen. Um, and it's against those good teams where you gotta be able to make it happen. Um, and he had throws that sailed him. He missed throws, critical turnovers. Even the Boston Scott Miles Sanders fumbles. Really, the Boston Scott one because the handoff placement was really off. The Miles Sanders one was just straight up on him. It just lost it. Um, and that was deflating. That was so deflating. It was a good Christmas until then, and I was litty off the crown. And then the family came in is really what did it. And they were instigating me, and I'm like, you know what, y'all lost us this game. I ain't gonna lie. Um, but I think it's really critical that the Eagles get healthy, and this game really didn't help that much. I mean, Avonte Maddox went out. Got he's got a fractured toe. Um, Lane Johnson abdominal tear. Who is going to be playing for the playoffs? He's done for the regular season. He's going to be doing therapy and playing for the playoffs. Which shout out, salute Lane Johnson for this effort. I watched the podcast John Clark did with Clay Harbor, who went through the same injury, and to hear him talk about the process with this injury is just insane. And he's like, and this guy's gonna give it a go. Um, it's just insane to me. Shout out to, I mean, Lane Johnson is a dog. We all know that. But it just goes to show you how much he cares for this team. So shout out to Lane. I'm sure that they're gonna scheme like Driscoll. They're gonna probably split snaps just to keep him like not that he's out there every snap. Because I mean, obviously with that, I mean you're gonna do. They said he's not gonna do any more damage than it's already done, but still, I mean the pain tolerance really just to kind of mitigate that. You know what I mean? So when Driscoll's out there, you might have Goddard, Chip, or Jack Stoll. Um, you're gonna see more like 12 personnel maybe. It remains to be seen, but um, they'll take care of that. Um, CJ Gardner Johnson is eligible to come off of IR, although he has not. The Eagles have not opened his practice window. Um, Honestly, I would rather him be healthy. We really do need him for the slot. I think that's with Avonte Maddox out. If they don't sign like Cravion LeBlanc, who he's shooting his shot out on social media, Birds fans are like, "Hey, do it," and he's like, "I love Philly fans forever. I would love to see LeBlanc back." But I don't really see that happening. I think they're gonna roll with who they got. Um, I think when CJ comes back, they're going to be probably splitting a lot of time between him and Josiah Scott, which I don't agree with. I think they should just put him in the slot, let Reed Blankenship and Epps play in the back end. And yeah, I mean, I think we would be pretty straight like that. But I can see them splitting between those two. Josiah Scott was burnt toast, barbecue chicken. After Maddox went out. I mean, the CD Lamb abused that matchup. I mean, Dallas did what they were supposed to. They exploited a matchup and they just kept abusing it. I mean, Jonathan Gannon didn't adjust fast enough, and just CD Lamb took our heads off. That's really it. And then as far as the 3rd and 30 play, that I mean, that is unacceptable. I get it though, like in Slay's perspective. Um, it's cover 2 and he's trailing, so he's expecting safety help over the top. And that's really what it looked like to me. Um, I just don't understand why you're not playing the sticks that like with the 3rd and 30. Um, I get it. I get it's trail technique, and you're gonna have safety help over the top. That should have been a pick. Let's be real here. Josiah Scott had a chance at that ball. If he's in the right position, that's a turnover. That's a pick. If he goes for that and he's in position, but lost track of the ball, couldn't get there in time. T.Y. Hilton makes a great catch, and that's really where this game turned on its head. I mean, earlier the 3rd and 8 sack that they missed, and that turned into points where they should have got off the field right there. That was one. They kind of weathered the storm with that one and put themselves in a good position in 3rd and 30. Um, with the strip sack, which in my opinion should have been ruled a turnover, but they ruled it back. Didn't show a replay, which is cool. Whatever. Um, I know what's going on, Roger Goodell. I get it. I get it. But anyway, um, 3rd and 30. I mean, Philly Mike said it too. Bring back the sticks. The Jim Schwartz sticks defense. Like that's really it. I don't know. It was painful to watch. If Josiah Scott's in position, that's an incompletion. And if Slay's not playing the flat so hard, who knows? It's just something that they got to clean up. And I respect Jonathan Gannon for addressing it and taking accountability for it. He said, that call was on me. I got to coach that better. I liked the call there, but I gotta get our players coached better for the situation. And um, I respect it. I respect them taking accountability. I just want to see it change. I just want to see an improvement. That's really it. That's really it for that. Because that's unacceptable. That brings back bad memories of the Titans game overtime loss on the 4th and I want to say 18 on the sticks defense, no less. Um, that's up there with that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and the story in this game really was the turnovers. I mean, 4 turnovers is unacceptable. I mean, you looked at the last time. I saw this stat floating around on like points scored off turnovers against every opponent that we've played this year. In our 2 losses, points scored off of turnovers has been double digits. We've had games where it's been like 6 points, 7 points off of turnovers, and we've won. Maybe off of like 1 turnover, you know what I mean? 1, maybe 2. But when we turn the ball over more than twice, and teams are scoring double-digit points off of our turnovers, we're gonna lose. And when you play good teams down the stretch, like Dallas is a good team. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna cap. I know I talk a lot of shit against Dallas because I hate Dallas, but gotta be real. They're a good team. Um, they're in that top echelon conversation right now. I will see in the playoffs. I still don't believe until I see it, but still, I mean, they're in that conversation. They played their best game. And when you're playing against good teams that play their best game, you cannot afford to give up 20 points off of turnovers. I mean, in my opinion, if Jalen Hurts plays this game, we're not going to have 4 turnovers. So take 20 points off the board. And in, maybe half of those situations, that's 14 points for us. So it's a 34-point swing if you think about it. I mean, look, we scored 34 points. It could have been a freaking like 48-22 game, just like the Giants game. It could have been scoreagami. Without those turnovers. I think with Jalen Hurts playing in that game, we lock up the 1 seed and we don't have 4 turnovers. It's just one of those things where you got Gardner Minshew in and the offense is just not clicking like it was without Minshew in. It just be like that sometimes. But They're going to have to clean it up. This is a huge game that's coming up against the Saints. I mean, look, if you're the Eagles, you really don't want to be going into week 18 against the division rival and the Giants, who are also vying hard for a playoff spot. You don't want that to be the high stakes game to get the 1 seed and the division. You really don't. So you really want to take care of it this week against the Saints at home. And if you didn't see our short I posted earlier today, Jalen Hurts was back at practice. Jalen Hurts was practicing today. He was limited. A lot of guys were limited with either rest or nagging injuries. But yeah, he wasn't at the walkthrough yesterday, but him practicing today is a very good sign. And he was making throws, short, intermediate. The zip on the ball looked fantastic. He was running, making off balance throws. He was doing it all. The one drill he didn't do was with the shoulder drill, the ball security drill, which I mean I get you're not going to be beating on his shoulder. But that's going to be something to monitor in the game. If he plays, it'd be huge. It'd be huge to have Jalen Hurts playing this week. I think if he plays, we win. It's just plain and simple. Plain as that. But it's huge. You know, gotta be able to take care of your food when called upon, when the opportunity presents itself. So this is a really huge game for the Eagles to just lock it all up. And in my opinion, if the Eagles get the 1 seed this week and they lock it all up and they go into the first round bye into the playoffs, they're going to the Super Bowl. If the NFC playoffs has to go through Philly, go through the Link, it's a wrap. Send us to Glendale. That's my opinion. It's really hard to play in Philadelphia in the wintertime. I mean, as it is, it's hard with the fans. But playing outdoors in the cold elements, some of these fair weather teams, Minnesota, San Francisco, even though they went into Green Bay last year and beat them, it counts for something. It's an advantage. Whether you want to believe it or not, I believe it's an advantage, and it's tough. But we'll see how this all shakes out. We'll talk about these scenarios here in a little bit. We'll just breeze through these last few games here. Next game here, the Pittsburgh Steelers narrowly edging out the Las Vegas Raiders 13-10. This was the Franco Harris Memorial Game tribute. Shout out Franco Harris, rest in peace. Immaculate reception. This game got Derek Carr benched. Derek Carr has been benched. Mike Stidham is the new QB1, and it goes to pose the question: is Derek Carr going to be playing for the Raiders next year? I believe I don't really know his contract situation, but he's going to be up for a contract soon. So it'd be interesting to see if the Raiders actually trade him, or if this is just like one of those like, all right, we don't have anything to play for. Rather be safe than sorry and like not try to like get you killed kind of thing. Because I mean, teams do that. But it remains to be seen. That'll be an interesting storyline to watch. I know one team looking for a quarterback is the Jets. I mean, they're a quarterback away from what Kyle says. So yeah, that's an interesting one right there. And the Steelers get another win. Not really in the playoff hunt, but it's a confidence builder right there. Next game, first of the 3 Christmas Day games, the Green Bay Packers taking care of business on the road against the Dolphins, 26-20. Now, the way that this all turned out for Green Bay, who we all wrote off, I ain't gonna lie, I wrote off Green Bay as well. The way that the week games here have turned out for Green Bay give them a mathematical chance. Still, they got a chance to make the playoffs. And with this win, that was huge. Christian Watson did his thing. Aaron Rodgers, just absolute beast. The story of this game, though, was Tua. He started off the game real hot. Dolphins were doing their thing. And you see on like a hurry, a pressure, he scrambled out to the right. got rid of the ball and goes down to the ground and back of his head, boom, off the turf. After that wasn't the same. He threw 2 picks, didn't play that great. And he was ruled out for this coming week. Teddy Bridgewater will be starting for the Dolphins. He's in concussion protocol for the third time this year. And that poses the question. I mean, we've looked at the Miami Dolphins medical staff and the NFL concussion protocol once before. I mean, already. I mean, we saw earlier in the year against Cincinnati the really scary sight with Tua. He was all locked up, and he got taken off on a stretcher. You gotta wonder what the hell what the motive for the health of these guys is long term. It's something you really don't want to play with. I mean, if it's a knee, if it's like an elbow or something like that, ankle, you can work through it. Um, it's not as important as your head though. Your head is, I mean, everything. Um, I mean, all your like main body functions reside in your head. I mean, your brain's in your head, which really controls you. Um, you don't want to mess with that. So in my opinion, the Dolphins are playing with fire here just for short-term success. Um, I think the NFL has to evaluate their concussion protocol and what they deem to be like clearable or not. Um, and they gotta enforce it because it's looking like, in my opinion, down the road, this has the recipe and the makings for another CTE case. Um, and you really don't want to see that. I mean, and everybody hates to see stuff like that, but I mean, it's the facts of the matter. Um, and it's making Miami's playoff push kind of difficult. They're gonna have to take care of business here the last 2 weeks, and we'll get into that really quick in a little bit. We'll get breeze past these games. Um, should we really even talk about this game? The LA Rams taking care of business at home against the Broncos, 51-14. We do have to talk about this game. Stuff happened. Um, this was just an absolute collapse for the Broncos. I know Kyle doesn't really like to mention this team, but we have to mention this team. Their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, has been fired. Look, I saw the writing on the wall the first week. I mean, when you're in the situation against Seattle, 1-point game, you got all 3 timeouts, less than a minute to go, and you run the clock down till about like 20 seconds on like, I want to say it was 4th down, and then try to kick like a 63-yarder to win the game. Dude, like, what are you doing? You have all 3 timeouts. You just under a minute. Take a timeout. Talk it out. Listen, if I'm by no means of the imagination qualified to be an NFL coach or like a coordinator, play caller, game manager, whatever. I just play a little bit of Madden, and if I can tell you within a minute left on like a 3rd or 4th down with all 3 timeouts, a 1-point game, and you're almost to midfield. Hey, ref, hey, ref, hey, T, take a T, take a T, take a T, take a T. We need to talk about this. Hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, guys. Listen, it's 3rd down. Gotta talk about this. No, not Nathaniel Hackett. Listen, I'm gonna show you guys what Nathaniel Hackett was doing on that call. He's sitting there, right? He's just doing one of these. We're 3rd down. He's wow. Whew. Them 12s are really something. Wow. Game. What? Do we have timeouts? What? No, just what? I don't know. Hey, what are we doing? I don't know what we're doing. Just let the clock run. I don't care if we have 3 timeouts. They'll roll over to the next game. We'll have 6 timeouts. I don't care. Why do we have to take a timeout? All right. 10 seconds left. All right, you know what? Look, it's 4th down. It's 4th down, guys. We're not going to get this. We're not going to convert this to be a first down. Just kick the field goal. Get the kicker out here. He can make a 63-yarder. You know how kickers are built these days. They're just built different. They can kick 75-yarders. I mean, have you watched Destroying? Have you guys wait, hold on. Have you guys not watched Destroying? This man kicks 75-yarders. If our kicker, who is an NFL kicker, can't make a 63-yarder, you got to be kidding. Like, come on. Just send him out. Send him out. All right. He's going to make this shit. He's going to make it. Look, kickers are built different these days. All right. Fuck. Damn it. That's all right, guys. That's all right. It's all right. We're good. That is Nathaniel Hackett in a nutshell, guys. It's been pretty awful to watch. I ain't gonna lie. Just because of his offense and his game managing skills, it just makes watching Broncos football hard. And the fact that they gave them a lot of primetime slots just made it like eye gouging. Thank God. He's the 5th coach in NFL history to be fired before the end of his first season. So that it's history, not good history, but it's history. It was just not good. Russell Wilson has been a shell of his former self since coming here and playing under Nathaniel Hackett. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to play next or to coach next year, how Russell Wilson will look in a different offense. I mean, you look at the team, the roster, it's not like there's talent on the roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There's guys. You got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler. Wait, no. KJ. Oh, bro, I'm sleep. I'm so sleep. Is he? He's got to be. Give me a second. Hold on. Pretty sure. Hold on. Before I make a wild accusation statement. Yeah, okay. I was right. Sorry about that. I had to fact check myself. I get people mixed up a lot. I apologize. But I mean you got talent on this team. I mean Javonte Williams went out with an injury for the year, but you had Melvin Gordon, you have Latavius Murray. It's not bad. The offensive line ain't bad. Defense has been really good. It and yet they're gonna miss the playoffs. That it has to fall on coaching. I mean, in my opinion, after that first game, it really does fall on coaching. So that's one thing. And in my opinion, when you look at the coaching carousel and the rumors, Sean Payton's a hot name. And he's been talking about, or not him, but the media has been talking about him putting a staff together to possibly return to coaching. That's a prime Sean Payton destination, to be in Denver with Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator, which I really want him to be our D coordinator. Y'all take Jonathan Gannon, Denver. Take JG in the shell coverage. I want Vic Fangio. That just broke my heart. That when I read that report. But we'll see how that turns out. I mean, that's going to be an off-season conversation, but still, I mean, the fall off has just been insane for the Broncos. It was on full display. Not to mention Baker Mayfield got an MVP award, the Nickelodeon Valuable Player. Shout out to Baker, man. Shout out. Um, Next game here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking care of business in overtime on the road against the Arizona Cardinals, 19-16. Much needed win. Honestly, this game was freaking ugly. Every time I watch Tampa Bay games, they're ugly because all they do is just they'll throw 5-yard outs either to Rashad White, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, or just run it up the gut for 2 yards, not even get stuffed. It's hard to watch the Tampa Bay offense, in my opinion. But they still remain in the playoff hunt with the 45-year-old Tom Brady. So that's gotta account for something. And then the final game here, the LA Chargers taking care of business against the Indianapolis Colts on the road, 20-3. Nick Foles started this game. Shout out Nick Foles, my dog, Big Dick Nick. I apologize for the kids watching this program, but that's his nickname in Philly. Did not look really that good. He had, I want to say, 3 picks, no touchdowns. He had 3 picks. Justin Herbert had 1 pick, no touchdowns. Austin Eckler did most of the scoring here. 2 touchdowns, some field goals, and some change. Yeah, man, Colts are washed in my opinion. And it's a just end the season, we'll see you next year kind of thing. And the Chargers clinching a playoff spot for the first time under Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert. So they'll be making their first playoff appearance, and it'll be interesting to see how they hold up against some of these AFC teams. With that being said, let's hop right into the playoff scenarios. Now that we talk about clinching and making the playoffs, we'll bring this up. So, boom. Here we got the teams that have clinched a playoff spot, and we'll talk about all the game clinching scenarios for this game. Let me just pull it up on my phone here real quick. We'll go by conference. We'll start with the NFC here. So we got teams that have clinched a playoff spot here are the Eagles, the Vikings, 49ers, Cowboys. What you would probably say is your top 4 in the conference. All clinched playoff spots already. And then in the hunt, you got Tampa Bay leading the NFC South. And then your wild card guys, the Giants at 8-6-1, the Washington Commanders at 7-7-1. And then still guys mathematically in it here, the Seattle Seahawks, Lions, Packers at 7-8, and then the Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints at 6-9. Nice. Yeah, I mean, this game, Bucks Panthers will pretty much knock one of these teams out of the contention here. And the Saints playing the Eagles, honestly, I think that's an L. I think the Saints get eliminated this week. But we'll see. They got a lot to play for. In the NFC side, for our clinching scenarios, I mean, the Eagles can clinch the East, the NFC East here with a win or a Dallas loss, which currently Dallas is up 7-0. So probably with a win. And the Eagles clinch home field advantage with a win or an Eagles tie plus a Minnesota loss or a tie. Very unlikely for the tie part. Or a Dallas loss or tie plus a Minnesota loss plus a San Francisco loss. So all 3 of these teams losing out. I mean, the Vikings game, that'll be a tough one there. The 49ers going up against the Raiders. I don't know. I can see that being a trap game. I mean, the Raiders, they're not like their record really doesn't tell the whole story here. They've been on a really good stretch of football the last couple weeks. They just had a really bad loss to the Steelers. But we'll see. Um, yeah, the Eagles can pretty much clinch it all with a win. It won't matter there. Um, the New York Giants, they can clinch a playoff spot with a win against Indianapolis. Um, that would be huge. Some of the other um some of the other scenarios here. Um, the Giants tie um with Seattle loss or tie plus a Washington loss or tie. Giants tie plus Seattle loss or tie plus a Detroit loss or tie. A lot of ties here. Uh, Giants tie plus a Washington loss or tie plus Detroit and Green Bay loss or tie. Those are probably unlikely. I don't think the Giants will tie with the Colts. I doubt it. Um, I think they'll beat the Colts. Um, they'll also get in if they lose. They'll also get in with a Seattle loss plus a Washington loss, or Seattle loss plus Detroit loss plus Green Bay loss, or Washington loss plus Detroit loss plus Green Bay loss. So if Seattle, Washington, Detroit, and Green Bay all lose this week, the Giants are in. Seahawks playing the Jets, that's going to be a big game. The Lions playing the Bears, we'll see. Divisional game, I don't know. The Packers playing the Vikings, another one, we'll see. I don't know. The Washington Commanders taking on the Browns. I think they beat the Browns. I don't know. I think they beat the Browns here. As far as Tampa Bay goes, they will clinch the division with a win. That's it. They just need to beat the Panthers and they're in. All of those teams are done. And the Washington Commanders, they clinch a playoff berth with a win against the Browns and the Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay loss. So these three teams, I mean, the Lions probably the least likely to lose here. All three of these teams lose and Washington wins, they're in. If the Giants win, they're in, regardless of what happens with Washington. It would be insane for all four NFC East teams here to clinch a playoff spot. And that would pretty much eliminate all of the rest of these teams right here. The 3, 4, 5 teams that are mathematically in it. So that's the NFC. The AFC, clinch playoff spots here. We got the Bills, got the Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Los Angeles Chargers. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, 2 spots available right now. We got the Jaguars currently leading the AFC South, which is crazy. They're on a 6-game winning streak, guys. 6 games. 6 games. Insane. The Dolphins, who just took an L, and they're playing the Patriots this week with Teddy Bridgewater. That's going to be a hell of a game. And then you got the Jets playing the Seahawks, the Titans currently playing the Cowboys, who are down 10-0. That's going to be an L. Yeah, wow. 6-game losing streak, just insane. The Titans have had an absolute fall off. I mean, from 7-2 to 7-8, possibly 7-9. This is a collapse that doesn't get talked about enough. That is insane. And then, I mean, you got the outside chances of the Steelers and the Raiders. And all these teams down here are eliminated. The Texans, Bears, Cardinals, Broncos, Colts, Falcons, Rams, Browns. So here's the scenarios for the AFC. These first couple are for, I mean, all of these really are for, well, no. These first two are for seeding. The Bills. The Buffalo Bills will clinch home field with a win and a Kansas City loss. That looks unlikely, in my opinion. They played the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to be a tough game. And the Chiefs taking on the Broncos. Fresh off of firing their coach, that can also be a tough game too. I mean, it's a division game. They just fired their coach. They're going to be playing tough, man. They want to end the season on a good note. So they're going to give the Chiefs everything they got. These are two tough games. So yeah, Buffalo will clinch a number 1 seed with a win and the Kansas City loss. If both of these teams lose, it gets pushed to next week. And if both these teams lose out for some reason, the Buffalo Bills will get the 1 seed off of head to head. Cincinnati. The Bengals will clinch the AFC North with a Cincinnati win and a Baltimore loss or a tie and a Baltimore loss. So basically, if the Bengals win and the Ravens lose, they clinch the AFC North. Both of these teams are in the playoffs, so this is really for seeding. They play the Bills, which is going to be a tough game. This is a tough game. And the Ravens taking on the Steelers. Another game you don't really want to sleep on, but I can see the Ravens taking care of business here. So this AFC North battle is still all but not over. Still all open. And last one here that I have on the sheet, the Miami Dolphins at 8-7. I didn't even. I apologize, guys. There's the schedule for these teams. The Bills, they play Cincinnati this week, and the next week they play New England at 7-8. The Bengals playing Buffalo, and then they play the Ravens for the division next week, possibly, if Cincinnati does not win against the Bills. It'll be for the division. That'll be a primetime game. The Dolphins, they play the Patriots this week, and then they play the Jets next week. The Dolphins clinch with a Miami win and a Jets loss, or a tie plus a Jets and Pittsburgh loss. So basically, the Dolphins have to win, the Jets have to lose. And if the Dolphins lose and the Jets win, the Jets are in it, and the Patriots. They're all these teams here are still in it. I think the Titans lose tonight. They're going to be eliminated, in my opinion. All the Jags would have to do is beat the Texans, which I think they're capable of doing. Which is, I mean, just goes to show you the turnaround with Doug Peterson has just been insane. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. So that's really the playoff scenarios here for like clinching goes. Obviously the Patriots are still in it here, 7-8. The Seahawks also 7-8. All these 7-8 teams, other than the Tennessee Titans, I'm writing them off. They got a legit shot still to make the playoffs. So again, there's 2 weeks to go till the playoffs start, and the race is still all but over. Obviously, I mean the spots are dwindling, but hey, a lot of teams vying for 5 total playoff spots. We got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll write them off. 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 teams fighting for 5 playoff spots. That's parity at its finest. But yeah, I mean these matchups, they'll be interesting to see. Not gonna do a real like recap preview. We'll wait on that for our guy Kyle. But yeah, I mean it's all but over. The playoffs, it's all but over. But so we'll see how it works. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, that's really all I got. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed your Christmas. I hope you guys have a happy New Year. If we're not live again, happy New Year. We'll see y'all next year. Tap in to the YouTube Shorts. Tap in to the TikTok and the Twitter. I'll leave the links in the description at the Day One Pod on Twitter, at the Day One Pod on TikTok, at the Day One Pod on YouTube. I just changed the at handle. It's all universal. Just look up at the Day One Pod. You're gonna find us. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Whether you're on the moon, in the sun, on the rainbow, in the tub, scrubbing dishes, on the beach, in Mars, on the moon with Elon Musk and the Doge. Tell them to tune in to the Day One Podcast. It's been another day. It's been lonely. I've had to hold it down. Hopefully our co-host is back next time. He should be. I'm going to get on his ass. Kyle, get the head out of your ass. He's probably with the missus right now. So, yeah, that with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'm Anthony, co-host Kyle. Somewhere, don't know where, but he's there. It's been real. See you guys next time. Tap in to the shorts and the TikToks and the Twitter. Tap in. We're dropping content almost every day. Yeah. We're trying to grind, man. Look, we're going to get to 100 by springtime. 100 subs, springtime. Let's get it. I'm Anthony. This is the Day One Podcast. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace.